Welcome back to the Abyss, my friends. Tonight we're diving headfirst into the digital depths of the internet's black market, a place where shadows twist into listings, and the click of a buy now button can plunge you into a world of unimaginable terror. We're unpacking the stories of three cursed objects sold to unsuspecting buyers online. Their tales, pieced together from forum whispers and frantic blog posts, paint a chilling picture of the potential consequences of dabbling in the unknown. So dim the lights, lock your doors, and whatever you do, don't take your eyes off the screen. You never know what might be lurking just beyond the pixels, waiting to be invited in. Our first tale takes us to Phoenix, Arizona, where Sarah thought she found the perfect vintage doll for her niece's birthday. The online listing described a porcelain doll from the 1920s, her painted eyes shimmering with a lifelike quality. The seller, a username shrouded in anonymity, offered the doll at a surprisingly low price. Driven by the thrill of a good deal, Sarah clicked Buy Now, unaware she was opening a doorway to something sinister. The package arrived a week later, the doll nestled in yellowed tissue paper. As Sarah unwrapped it, a chill ran down her spine. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her every move. That night, the nightmares began. Sarah dreamt of a dark nursery, a rocking chair swaying in the shadows, and the sound of a child's laughter, high-pitched and laced with malice. She woke with a gasp. The feeling of unseen eyes watching her lingered in the darkness. Days turned into a waking nightmare. The doll, which Sarah had placed on a shelf, seemed to shift positions when she wasn't looking. A faint scent of lavender, the kind her grandmother used to wear, permeated the air. One evening, as Sarah sat alone, she heard it. A whisper, barely audible, coming from the shelf where the doll sat. It spoke of a forgotten lullaby, a mother's broken heart and a child's rage forever trapped in porcelain and lace. Terrified, Sarah tried to get rid of the doll. She threw it in the trash, only to find it back on her doorstep the next morning. Desperate, Sarah reached out to a local paranormal investigator, Mr. Jensen. Mr. Jensen, sensing the genuine terror in Sarah's voice, agreed to help. He arrived at her house, his eyes drawn to the doll sitting innocently on the shelf. "She's a beacon," Mr. Jensen said, "a conduit to the other side." He explained that the doll wasn't just haunted. It was a vessel, a prison for something ancient and malevolent. Mr. Jensen performed a cleansing ritual, the air thick with the scent of sage and the murmur of ancient incantations. The doll fought back, its porcelain face contorting into a grotesque parody of a child's smile. But Mr. Jensen was persistent, and after an agonizing hour the room fell silent. The doll, its eyes now vacant and lifeless, sat still on the shelf. Mr. Jensen warned her that the spirit was still out there, weakened but not destroyed. Sarah never saw the doll again, but the memory of its haunting gaze continued to plague her dreams. Our next journey takes us to London, where Edward stumbled upon a listing for a beautiful antique mirror. It was ornately framed, the silver tarnished with age, and the seller, using the alias The Curator, claimed it originated from a grand estate in the English countryside. Edward, captivated by the mirror's history, purchased it without hesitation. He envisioned it hanging above his fireplace, a conversation starter and a window into the past. What he didn't realize was that this mirror was a window into something far more sinister. The mirror arrived, shrouded in a velvet cloth, its surface dark and unreflective. As Edward peeled back the fabric, a cold draft swept through his apartment. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. He hung the mirror on his living room wall, its presence immediately changing the atmosphere. The space felt smaller, suffocating, and Edward couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That night, the nightmares began. Edward tossed and turned, plagued by visions of shadowy figures lurking in the reflection of the mirror. They reached out from the darkness, their fingers gnarled and skeletal, their eyes burning with a cold, malevolent light. He woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. The room was dark, the only light emanating from the street lamps outside his window. And that's when he saw it. In the reflection of the mirror, a face stared back at him. It wasn't his own. This face was grotesque, its features twisted into a horrifying mask of pain and rage. Its eyes, wide and bloodshot, burned with a hatred so intense that Edward felt paralyzed with fear. He scrambled back from the mirror, his heart threatening to burst out of his chest. The face in the reflection vanished as quickly as it had appeared. He tried to convince himself it was a trick of the light, a figment of his imagination, but deep down he knew the truth. The mirror was cursed. As days turned into sleepless nights, the mirror's hold on Edward tightened. He became withdrawn, paranoid, his reflection in the mirror growing more and more distorted. Driven to the brink of madness, Edward decided to destroy the mirror. He carried it outside and smashed it against the pavement. The mirror's shards lay scattered, each shard showing the same horrifying image, Edward's face twisted into a mask of pure terror. Edward became a recluse, his reflection a constant reminder of the terrifying truth he could no longer escape. Our final tale leads us to New York City, where Emily came across a peculiar listing on a website dedicated to rare artifacts. It was a ring, a simple silver band adorned with an emerald eye, its gaze both alluring and unsettling. The seller, using the alias the Serpent's Eye, claimed the ring possessed an ancient power to attract wealth, success, and good fortune. Emily, struggling to make ends meet, was immediately drawn to the ring's allure. Ignoring the voice of reason, Emily clicked "Buy Now." The ring arrived a few days later, nestled in a black velvet box. As Emily opened the box, the emerald eye seemed to gleam with an unnatural light. She slipped the ring onto her finger, a jolt of energy coursing through her body. A wave of dizziness washed over her, followed by a strange sense of euphoria. For a moment, Emily felt invincible, and for a while it seemed like she was. Emily landed a coveted role in an off-Broadway play, her performance captivating audiences and critics alike. Her talent, once overlooked, was now recognized and celebrated. Money flowed into her life with ease. But as Emily basked in her newfound success, a darkness began to spread within her. The ring felt heavier on her finger, its emerald eye burning with an intensity that made her skin crawl. She was plagued by nightmares, vivid and terrifying, of being chased through dark forests by unseen entities. Her personality changed. The once kind and compassionate Emily became cold and calculating, her every action driven by an insatiable hunger for more success. She pushed away her friends and family, her only focus on her own ambitions. As Emily's behavior grew increasingly erratic, strange occurrences began to plague her life. Objects moved on their own, lights flickered and died, and whispers followed her wherever she went. It was as if the ring was amplifying a darkness within her, twisting her desires and warping her perception of reality. One night, after a particularly chilling nightmare, Emily woke up to find herself standing on the ledge of her apartment building. She had no memory of how she got there, but she felt an overwhelming urge to jump. Just as she was about to take the final step, a voice, soft but insistent, broke through the fog of despair. It was the voice of her grandmother, reminding Emily of the person she used to be. With a surge of determination, Emily pulled herself back from the edge. She ripped the ring off her finger, the emerald eye seeming to glare at her with an almost human rage. She got rid of the ring, throwing it into the East River. Emily's life slowly returned to normal, but the experience left an indelible mark on her soul. The internet, a vast and sprawling digital landscape, holds wonders and terrors in equal measure. As we've explored tonight, the pursuit of the unique, the antique, the seemingly harmless, can sometimes lead us down a path we never intended to travel. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of digital darkness. Remember, every click is a gamble, every purchase a potential doorway to the unknown. Until next time, sleep tight and be careful what you buy online. You never know what might be lurking on the other side of the screen, waiting to be invited in.